UAPs and Nuclear Sites, Correlation, Causation, and Caution. Teasing. There's a persistent claim in discussions about UFOs, now more often called UAPs, that these sightings cluster around nuclear sites, nuclear missile fields, nuclear power plants, weapons laboratories, and even nuclear tests are frequently cited as locations where strange aerial phenomena appear more often than elsewhere. For some, this pattern suggests intention, even intelligence. For others, it suggests something far more ordinary. Tonight, I want to explore what this correlation actually shows, what it does not show, and why epistemology matters more here than excitement or fear. Let's start with the claim itself. There are well-known historical examples. In the 1960s, personnel at Malmstrom Air Force Base in Montana reported strange lights in the sky during periods when nuclear missiles were on alert. In the United Kingdom, there were reports of unidentified aerial phenomena near RAF bases associated with nuclear weapons during the Cold War. In more recent decades, some UFO researchers have claimed that nuclear power plants receive a disproportionate number of reports compared to surrounding areas. Statistically, the evidence here is thinner than many people assume. There is no publicly available dataset showing a strong, quantified correlation like twice as many sightings per square mile near nuclear sites. What we do have are collections of reports where nuclear facilities appear repeatedly, and retrospective analyses suggesting elevated reporting rates in certain eras, particularly during the Cold War. In some studies of historical sighting catalogs, nuclear sites appear more often than random chance might suggest, but the margins are small, the data is noisy, and the reporting standards vary wildly. This is correlation, not control. Now, why do some people see this as an indicator of non-human intelligence? The argument goes like this. Nuclear weapons represent a uniquely dangerous technological threshold. If a non-human intelligence were monitoring humanity, it would make sense for it to pay special attention to nuclear capabilities. Some reports claim objects hovering over missile silos, disabling weapon systems, or appearing during nuclear tests. From this perspective, the behavior looks purposeful. It looks like observation, signaling, or even intervention. To those already open to the idea of non-human intelligence, nuclear sites feel like the most reasonable place for such intelligence to reveal itself. That argument has emotional and narrative power. It appeals to our sense that nuclear weapons are existentially important, and therefore must be cosmically interesting as well. But narrative power is not evidential power. Now let's consider the alternative, that this correlation is not an indicator of non-human intelligence at all. First, nuclear sites are among the most heavily surveilled locations on Earth. They are saturated with radar, cameras, trained observers, and security personnel whose job is to notice anomalies. If unusual aerial phenomena exist at a low background rate everywhere, they will be detected more often where people are actively looking. Second, nuclear facilities are often located in remote areas with unusual atmospheric conditions. Missile fields, deserts, coastlines, and high-altitude locations all produce optical effects, radar artifacts, plasma phenomena, and misidentifications that are poorly understood by non-specialists but well known to physicists and engineers. Third, nuclear sites are ideal testing grounds for advanced human technology. During the Cold War especially, classified aircraft, electronic warfare systems, radar countermeasures, and experimental drones were tested near sensitive installations. Many sightings that once seemed inexplicable were later identified as human projects after declassification. Others remain unexplained simply because the relevant data is still classified or lost. Fourth, there is a powerful sociological factor. Once a location becomes known for strange sightings, reporting increases. Expectations shape perception. A light in the sky near a nuclear plant feels significant in a way that the same light elsewhere does not. Human pattern recognition is strong, especially when the stakes feel high. All of these explanations require fewer assumptions than non-human intelligence. They rely on known human behavior, known physics, known institutional secrecy, and known cognitive biases. None of them require intelligence that is non-human, interstellar, or technologically beyond our comprehension. This brings us to epistemology, the study of how we know what we know. A correlation is not an explanation. It is a question. It tells us where to look more carefully, not what to believe. When evidence underdetermines a conclusion, meaning it can support multiple explanations, intellectual honesty demands restraint. The fact that some UAP sightings occur near nuclear sites does not give us sufficient reason to say there is a meaningful causal link. And even if such a link existed, the leap from something unexplained occurs near nuclear facilities to this is evidence of non-human intelligence is vastly larger. Good epistemology prioritizes explanatory power, parsimony, and falsifiability. The non-human intelligence hypothesis does not currently outperform simpler explanations on any of these criteria. It explains too much with too little evidence, and it resists testing because it can absorb almost any outcome. There is a difference between saying, "We do not yet know what this is," and saying, "We know this is something extraordinary." The first is a position of humility. The second is a claim that requires extraordinary evidence. That evidence has not yet arrived. So where does that leave us? It leaves us with something genuinely interesting, but not revolutionary. There are aerial phenomena that are sometimes misidentified, sometimes poorly understood, and sometimes unresolved due to limited data. Nuclear sites may amplify reporting, attention, and detection, but amplification is not intention. Mystery alone is not intelligence. The responsible position is neither dismissal nor belief, but disciplined curiosity. We should demand better data, clearer definitions, and experiments designed to discriminate between competing explanations. Until then, the correlation between UAP sightings and nuclear sites tells us more about human perception, surveillance, and fear than it tells us about visitors from elsewhere. And epistemologically speaking, recognizing the limits of our evidence is not weakness. It is the foundation of rational inquiry.